Starting career that Steve Beaton will have been greeted by a hostile crowd, but it might well happen this afternoon in Hildesheim, because Martin Schindler is the last German player standing. Can the wall book his place in the final day of a European Tour event for the first time in 2018, or will Steve Beaton, who was winning the World Championship when Martin Schindler's nursery was in planning by his parents, wasn't even born when Beaton lifted that title. Can he get past Steve Beaton to move through to the final day of action? 32 years of difference in age, the 3 darts in hand on the stage. I'm Chris Murphy. Rob Malarkey joins me for the penultimate match of this afternoon session.
All sorts of images are just flashing through my mind now, Chris, of the success in 1996 of Steve Beaton and the subsequent conception of Martin Schindler.
Success all round.
And I can't quite shake those images out of my mind.
Game on.
But listen to the noise in Halle 39 for Martin Schindler, the sole surviving host nation qualifier. 22 years old, celebrated his 22nd birthday only last week. And a man who overcame Justin Pipe in his first round match yesterday. Steve Beaton, one of the seeds here this weekend, although he did have to go through qualifying. He was elevated to 16th seed as a result of the withdrawal of Peter Wright, so he does come into this as one of the top 16 in the seeding, so he was given an automatic passage into round 2. And it may well be a good omen for Steve Beaton, only time will tell, but Beaton did beat Schindler 6-4 when they met in the early stages of the Dutch Darts Masters in 2017, a tournament, of course, in which Beaton went all the way to the final. Will history repeat itself here in Hildesheim?
You never know with Steve Beaton, always seems to pop up with a big run somewhere. Won a title last year on the floor.
63.
Former European Tour winner as well back in 2013.
And of course the pitfall for Beaton in being elevated to number 16 is that if he does come through this, he could well face Michael van Gerwen, the number 1 seed, in the 3rd round tomorrow. Christo Reyes may have other ideas about that. Of course, they meet later on.
151.
151. The first equation for Steve Beaton.
Martin Uruguay, 110.
Well, no stranger to a tumpless checkout is Martin Schindler. And I was just about to say, no stranger once again.
Yeah, looked to be standing up and blocking the passage there for Steve Beaton, and he couldn't manoeuvre his way around the dart in the single, and it's allowed Schindler further darts at double. Can he brush it off the barrel?
18. Steve Uruguay, 10.
He could not.
Well, this is what Steve Beaton has to deal with today, but he's a well-versed and a well-seasoned sort of player to deal with this sort of thing.
Well, yeah, he's done what Justin Pipe couldn't do and win an early leg. I think Pipe lost the first 3 in last night's match against Martin Schindler. Well, they did produce a fight back before Schindler got over the line. And having played last night, Schindler will be used to this particular crowd. Contrast to
80.
Max Hopp's match, for instance, in the afternoon when he lost out to Andrew Gilding.
Yeah. So what about the performance in Maastricht last year? Worth noting as well that Steve Beaton has only made the final day on 1 occasion in Europe so far this year in 2018. That was in Austria, as Schindler threatens the maximum. where he lost to Rob Cross 6-5 in the last 16. Aside from that, he's had 4 second-round departures and a first-round exit in Leverkusen as well, where he went down at the hands of James Wade. So certainly something to address for Steve Beaton.
Yeah, speaking of Austria, one of the 2 Austrian players in action today is up next. Michael Rastovitz taking on Australia's Simon Whitlock. That's the last match of the afternoon session.
99. Martin Uruguay 142.
So another big checkout opportunity for Martin Schindler. However, this one is not going to be threatened.
59. Steve Uruguay.
Only 59 as well, so Beaton might even get another chance should he fail to complete the combo in this visit. But he wants double 16.
Yeah, really nicely done that by Steve Beaton, silencing the crowd, winning that particular battle, a 1-1-2 checkout. And he looks very cool and very accustomed as well. He looks very settled in here already, does Steve Beaton, who, by the way, just going back to his form as I was talking about,
100.
Okay, made only one final day appearance in Europe, but in between Copenhagen and the European match play in Hamburg, he was a back-to-back semi-finalist on the Pro Tour, and over the course of those 2 days in Barnsley, he beat some fairly decent opposition. Darren Webster, Darrell Gurney, Michael Smith, Joe Cullen and Dave Chisnell.
59.
But he couldn't really take that floor form into the world match play, where he suffered a fairly handsome first-round defeat by Mensur Suljovic. That's more like it from Martin Schindler.
That's what he needed to lift them and lift himself.
78.
But prior to those semi-finals in Barnsley, he'd not even made a quarter-final since the Players' Championship finals last November, where he beat Jermaine Wassermainer, amongst others, before losing to Johnny Clayton in the last 8. But you never know with Beaton. As you say, every now and then, just when you think things aren't working out for him, he just has this habit of producing an inspired display, as he did a couple of weeks ago in Barnsley, or a few weeks ago. Schindler to get one on the board.
Well, the way Steve Beaton started, this is not beyond the realms. Can I retract that?
There we go.
I'm not sure that they knew he couldn't finish then, as they just continued to boo. Double 16 to halve the deficit and break back. Not much of the bed left, but he's found it.
Martin to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, and Kurt Bevins struggled to make himself heard over the noise as well, as he tried to relay the message to Steve Beaton as to what was required.
57.
Hey,
Martin Schindler Ole breaks back.
if it is going to be one of those weekends for Steve Beaton, he's going to have it hard, isn't he? Because first of all, he's got the last remaining home nation hopeful, and then the likelihood is that he'll take on the world number 1 in the last 16. Although, as you said, Cristo Reyes has turned it on against Michael van Gerwen on a couple of occasions in the past. That's tonight. Rob Cross, Mensur Suljovic, Johnny Clayton, a winner on the European Tour, Robert Thornton and James Wade all in action too this evening. Join us from 7:15 local time. That'll be 6:15 in the UK if you're watching there.
'81.
It might well be that today probably will be the best
97.
we will see will have been the very first match of this session. Record-breaking average from Dave Chisnell.
84.
Well, in that win over Justin Pipe yesterday, Martin Schindler averaged only 81 or so.
140.
He came into this one knowing that he'd have to significantly raise his game. And he hasn't in terms of the averages. And he's still a bit, well, he's way below par on the checkouts as well.
Beaton had done it, the hard work early on to get a clear cushion, but now that's under threat.
32.
Yeah, just get this sense that maybe Schindler's just warming up here now, and any stage fright that he may have had, which I suspect would be limited, might have been wiped away now, as Beaton once again has to deal with the
20.
noise from the crowd.
Yep, Schindler warming up and the Bronze Adonis failing to put out the fire.
Well, that was a very, very confident takeout. It was a very nervy looking attempt at double 10. And with the perils of double 5 being as they are, Schindler went straight down the barrel.
The sun was shining for Steve Beaton in the very first couple of legs. Then it started raining. Now, starting to pour, bounce out. It's all going so well. It's interesting, Steve Beaton, because we mentioned he often has these big runs, and there is a level of inconsistency about his results in tournaments over the year. Yet he's got this incredible record of qualifying for the World Match Play as an unseeded player, which would suggest a level of consistency. But it usually is down to one or two big runs rather than a load of mid runs into tournaments.
Yeah. Schindler
135.
clearly in the mood for more there. Well, that final dart might well make a difference, because he's not down to a finish now.
A bit of an awkward check out for Steve Beaton when he returns.
99. Stevie 129.
Yeah. 72 remaining.
He's got a choice to make here. Could go for a couple of doubles. Not even sure he's aware what he's got left yet.
Come on, Steve. Tops and 60s.
97.
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
Much more straightforward route here for Martin Schindler if he can find a way through. Tops though for Shindy. And 2-0 becomes 3-2. 3 legs on the bounce for the German. And the 22-year-old is in the ascendancy here.
$58. $100.
Wall of noise now for the wall. Martin Schindler having hit the front.
87.
He's a player though who's certainly come on leaps and bounds over the last 12, 18 months or so.
I tell you what, we talked about Christo Reyes sticking it to Michael van Gerwen on a couple of occasions. Well, Schindler's done that twice in Germany as well. He's ended up on the wrong end, but has really taken the game to Michael van Gerwen in the World Cup of Darts in the last couple of years.
80.
Be interesting to see that matchup and how Michael van Gerwen would deal with playing a German player in Germany.
140.
Shindy, a player who made his European Tour debut some time ago. It was in 2014 when he was only 17.
100.
That was a debut to remember for him as well. He played Raymond van Barneveld in that one as well.
Oh, he was doing a spot of stewarding in between, wasn't he, Martin Schindler?
Often saw him on the doors at these European Tour events and guiding people to their seats and what have you. Obviously absorbing the atmosphere and bringing that to the table when he got his turn on the stage as well.
41.
Making the most of it.
Of course, the big step was
55.
earning his tour card last year as well.
92.
Just gave him that golden ticket, that sense of belonging at the upper end of the table.
He gambled there. Now it's got to be a couple of doubles. Well, it doesn't have to be because he's found the treble.
68.
Thought he would be having gone for the treble 20. And Steve Beaton might not even get a dart at double.
16.
Well, could have done himself an injury there.
missiles being launched from the board. Returned with interest. Martin Schindler back on double 12. Now on double 6. And now leading by 4 legs to 2. Punishing Steve Beaton for a wayward first start with his previous visit when he was on 86. Finding the single one and totally derailing himself there. Had the chance to get back on track, but he just looks a very, very different player here, Steve Beaton now. When he went 2 up and he was threatening a 3-0 lead, that seems like a long, long time ago now. 81. And the noise inside Haller 39 just gets louder and louder and louder.
Hasn't been the highest quality match of the afternoon, but they will not care if Schindler records 2 more legs.
85.
Is it his turn to shine on the Euro Tour stage?
95.
Despite the fact that Michael van Gerwen has won the lion's share of the event so far this year, it has thrown up
89.
some wonderful stories, none more so than when Martin Schindler's World Cup teammate Max Hupp claimed his maiden PDC title.
45.
Berwick Johnny Clayton also winning a first Euro Tour event. He's in action tonight too, up against James Wilson. And the other man with one to his name in 2018, Mensto Suljevic, takes on Andrew Gilding this evening.
Stevie Require 128.
Well, as far as the averages are concerned, Schindler still not really producing anything spectacular. It's actually
88.
dipped to just over 80 at the moment.
125.
He's sharpened up on the finishing a little bit as well.
Similar to yesterday, isn't it? It's kind of
very
falling through. Treble 20. The double top.
Oh, that would have got the crowd going. But yeah, he's doing his bit, but Steve Beaton has just dropped off here immensely. And 2 from 7 becomes 2 from 10. And yeah, the referee just has to step in because the crowd may have just ever so slightly stepped over the mark there. But, well, you get it in all areas of sport, don't you? Home advantage. And Martin Schindler is benefiting from the 4th dart, as we talked about yesterday here.
Yeah, it is a help, of course, for Martin Schindler, but it's not his fault, is it? He's got to get up there and do his job. He's got to throw the darts.
57.
And in Maastricht next weekend, he could be on the receiving end as well. So it's all part and parcel of the game.
That's 5 on the spin for Schindler, and 1 more will put him in the final day for the first time in 2018. That helped.
Well, he's in the mood now. Started off with a 57 in this leg, but back on track with a 180.
58.
A bit of a rush of blood there for that final dart. But it does present the opportunity to win it in style, should he choose to
41.
produce fireworks.
180 followed by a 164. What are the chances? What are the chances? He went for it and he finishes it in fine style. And Martin Schindler keeps the home flag flying here at the German Darts Championship. He trailed 2-0, but he rattled off 6 legs on the bounce. The average, nothing to shout about, but he will not care one jot about that. What a way to finish the job. A 164 checkout on the back of a 180 as well. And Martin Schindler is through to the final day of a European Tour event once again. And it's for the first time this year as well. Van Gerwen or Reyes lie in wait for Shindy.
Gratulation on the wall. Das ist ja selbst für mich emotional, hier neben dir stehend. Wie ist das für dich?
Weltklasse. Also, mir fehlen echt die Worte. Der Support hier in Hildesheim ist sowas von klasse. Das war der gestern schon, heute auch wieder. Und ich muss auch ganz ehrlich sagen, ich glaube, ohne die Fans, ohne die Zuschauer wäre ich heute auch nicht durchgekommen.
Ja, nach dem 0-2 ist wirklich auch dann reinzukommen in die Partie, ne?
Ja, das ist mir sehr schwer gefallen. Also generell eigentlich die ganze Partie war auch genau wieder dasselbe Spiel wie gestern. Der erste Dart war einfach nur schlecht. Und ich habe versucht irgendwie immer zu korrigieren. Heute ging es zum Glück besser als gestern. Ich habe auf jeden Fall die Chancen genutzt, die ich bekommen habe und bin froh, dass ich morgen nochmal ran darf.
Und 164 am Ende auch nicht schlecht, ne?
Ich dachte mir, warum nicht? Einfach so, warum nicht?
Genießt das, Martin! Martin!